Hello and welcome to the Preferred Contractors Podcast, where we give you actionable steps to grow your contracting business. I'm your host, Jordan Harrison. And in today's episode, we're going to wrap up season 2 of the Preferred Contractors Podcast. So super excited. We're going to dive into all the guests we had on this season and kind of pull out a golden nugget from each episode for you guys, starting all the way back into episode 12 with Joe Hughes of Contractor Dynamics. So we're going to start there, get into everybody, and just, pull out some of the things I thought were the biggest highlights and biggest takeaways. And of course, at any time, you can hop on to the Preferred Contractors Podcast on YouTube, as well as Apple and Spotify, anywhere you can listen to podcasts on audio. So if you haven't already, check us out, subscribe. And of course, if you're not in the community group, hop in there as well. It's on Facebook. Just search out Preferred Contractors in the groups, and you will find us in there where you get all the help you need on marketing, business development, things like that. So out of the way, I want to get into the first clip of Joe Hughes from Contractor Dynamics. And we were talking about how to generate consistent leads with Facebook ads, because Facebook ads, a year ago was completely different than what it is now. And so kind of Joe talks about what's working out with contractors, especially in the roofing space, with Facebook ads. So here's Joe. So let's get into the Facebook ads question. This is usually the big question for everybody. So how should today, because I think a year ago, Facebook ads are completely different. So I think now how they're used is, and it'll change in 6 months from now, I think. So how should Facebook ads be used to generate consistent leads?
Man, yeah, you're right. Like this year, 2022 has been it's been challenging for sure. There's just, there's a combination of things. There's so much noise out there. There's maybe, censorship, ads are getting rejected for random reasons, like just a lot of moving parts, and it's always changing. So the big misconception is that I can put in $1,000 and get 30 leads for $33 a lead, right? It's a leads ATM. Back in 2015, 2016, we first started running Facebook ads for our clients. It was kind of like that. Like even in big markets like DFW and, Dallas and Denver and all that, like it was pretty easy. Even generating leads for ourselves as a marketing company, like it was pretty easy. Now it's so much harder. Now, so what people don't realize is like, it's not just like, hey, I'm going to run this campaign, I'm going to spend X, and I'm going to get Y in return. That might work in a very specific situation. But what we see with our clients, and we work with clients from, startups to $100 million companies and everywhere in between, it really comes down to doing like the basic brand building content, like we kind of talked about a little bit already, to get people to know who you are. And if you want to accelerate that process, you can run brand awareness ads on Facebook. A brand awareness ad on Facebook would be maybe a video or something like that, a client testimonial video that you're putting some dollars behind that to not only get that video in front of your followers, but you're reaching tens of thousands of people in your local market, or hundreds of thousands if you want, for just a few bucks a day, $10 a day. So getting people to know who you are, and then running those lead generation ads or those ads that are going to your website with an offer, more than free inspection, like, a complimentary roof evaluation or, assessment or something like that. But if you run those types of lead generation ads and offers to an audience of people that have no idea who you are, it's not going to work very well. You've got to have that foundation, that brand awareness. And yes, it takes a little bit of time and effort and a little bit more money, but I mean, that's what works these days. And I think too many people have this delusion, and marketers, shady marketers who are aplenty, they don't help at all, because they're out there like, hey, 30 leads a month guaranteed, that sort of thing. And yeah, it's really not that hard to generate leads on Facebook. What's hard is to generate leads from people that know who you are, that are serious, that are going to set into appointments, they're going to be good clients, they're going to have, profitable jobs. Like that's difficult, right? It's really hard. Like think about it this way, for anyone watching, listening. When's the last time you're scrolling through your social media feed, you see an ad and you enter your contact info, and within a week, you're dropping 15 grand with that company because you saw a clever ad? Like we don't shop like that. So your clients, your market doesn't shop like that either. So like, don't expect people to behave differently than you behave, right? think about the things that you have bought from social media, or think about the things that you bought in general. Like, you've seen that brand, you've heard good things, you've seen reviews, like maybe you've seen some videos, like you've done your research, you evaluated different options. Like, that's how people make buying decisions. And we need to gear our marketing accordingly.
So some great stuff there from Joe, really diving into, Facebook ads and what's really working or not, and really just kind of open the eyes of those who think that it's a quick way to bring in leads. But when you do use those, right, you want to be able to bring in quality leads, and you got to be able to build a brand, and people recognize, know, like, and trust who you are and who your business is. So next up, we're going to get into episode 13 with Max Rosenblum from Supplement Experts. And here we're going to talk about, listen to talk about the biggest mistakes a lot of contractors are making when they're trying to provide an estimate. How do you estimate this job? How do you create this margin? How do you create value here? And so I think it's important to kind of start there. So what are the biggest mistakes contractors are making when providing an estimate?
Documentation, without a doubt. And I know that there's going to be so many people that listen to this and they're just going to roll their eyes when I start talking about photos. But one thing I'm constantly telling to anyone that we're onboarding, or anyone that is going over some things that they're not happy about, is like, we as supplement experts, we are as good as the information that you provide us. When you provide us a file with 7 photos, none of them are the build, and stuff like that. I was talking with Ricky Harmon from Balance Claims, and we talk a lot. And another person I'm grateful for, he said to me, I explain to people all the time that we don't wave a magic wand and then create magic. Is it possible? Yeah, but I'm not a chance guy. What I like to say is, I don't want to argue. I just want to present facts. Like, fact, you have farmers, for example, they don't want to pay for drip edge on the E. So get that photo from production. It's really easy for us, to submit that and argue about it. Take a little bit of time to label your photos, things like that. I think a lot of people just assume that they take photos, that the person should be, anyone on the other end should be able to look at it and just be able to understand what they're looking at, taking an extra few seconds to label where it is, things like that. There's definitely some nuggets in there of different things that we know about code, or know about how to document things, and we give that information to our clients, and even to people that aren't our clients. We're happy to share information like that. But I think that people just don't build good enough process around getting information, whether that's enabling the right person. Are your project managers the best people to get production photos? Do they get out there enough on time for tear off? Should you put that on someone else? Hey, are you accepting and passing us jobs that, you're not doing a good enough job of auditing first? My admin team, will smile and nod their head when I say, we get way too many jobs that are not ready for supplementation, meaning, they're lacking photos, they're lacking an insurance estimate, they're lacking a note telling us what's going on, they're lacking measurements, whatever the case may be. I think people get excited and jump the gun and want to push things through. And listen, I understand that, especially if you're in a cash flow crunch, it's tough. It is. Cash flow is king in this industry, but all industry, right? But you have to have your ducks in order first. So you want supplement experts to build you a great estimate. We're going to do that, but the best estimate, the best clients are the most organized.
So some great stuff in there from Max Rosenblum, really talking about digging into mistakes contractors are making when doing their estimate, and just making sure that you're providing the right documentation, and you have enough documentation, right, to hire a supplement expert to get the claims you need, and of course get paid. Now, next up, we're gonna go through episode 14, where we had Emily and Frank Monzo, a couple that owns Monzo's Home Repairs, and this was a fantastic episode, because we don't have a lot of people that deal with home repairs and remodeling on the show. So it was good to hear about their process, how they do estimates, and how they, just their follow up and things like that, and how they really built the company from the ground up and word of mouth. And so I think this is a fantastic episode. We're going to talk about transparency for a moment, because they're real big on that, and that's how you build a great customer service and great customer experience. So we're going to dive into transparency during when they provide an estimate. So if you're coming out to do an estimate, doesn't matter what the job is, like what's that process look like for you guys? So you're communicating with a transparent in mind, and something that other contractors could take in the same type of process.
Well, first I want to say our whole process that we've developed has come from anytime a situation has been, I'm going to say uncomfortable. I'm not going to say we've had, bad experiences. We've had uncomfortable experiences. And the reason I say that is we look at that experience and we go, okay, on our side, where did we drop the ball? Because if we're not meeting our numbers with the amount of estimates to closings that we're getting, if we're having issues with customers down the road, then there's either a wording in our contract, there's an issue in our process. And so we look at that and we reevaluate and we see, okay, what do we need to fix? So we go out, I mentioned we hand the customer our card, we introduce ourselves. I'm going to actually hand this over to Frankie because this is his baby and I don't want to take it from him.
Okay. So basically my process is the phone call comes in, the customer says, what's a good one to go?
I don't know, drywall repair, I guess.
I got it. No,
okay.
So the customer says, my faucet won't turn on. My shower handle, faucet handle won't turn on. The mixer valve, in other words. So first, to me, but we're going to go through our steps. So I would say, okay, no problem. Get their information, tell them the time I'd be there, and I'd be there 10 minutes early, always, unless I'm hitting traffic or something. But another key to it is don't go on those times. Don't go at 9 a.m. Don't go 5 at night. Always before traffic. This way you smooth sail and you get right to the house. Nobody wants to wait. I don't want to wait. I have a problem waiting in restaurants for my food. I want it now. So I get there and then I introduce myself. I give the customer the card. I don't talk about none of the work right then and there. I ask them how they're doing, compliment something in their house, something that, creates some sort of bond. And most of the time I see a picture of Elvis or, something musical or any art, anything. So that's how you do it. And you get to know each other first, because that's an interview in my eyes. They might not want to hire me just as well as I don't want to work with them. It works both ways. And I'm at that point. We're at that point in business where I've let customers go because I didn't like the rapport we had. If a customer's standoffish, don't want to answer me, I try to, prod them a little bit. But if they don't want to talk, if they're very just get it done. I might not want that job.
Or if they've shared that they've had issue after issue after issue with multiple contractors, well, they're kind of the common denominator there. So exactly. Is that
most of the time it is true? Yeah. But we're going to go say this is a good customer, right. a kind customer, and we'll say that we go. So then they'll tell me the problem. Now, once again, here comes where we talked about the value of it. So, or the worth, I should say. So I get there. The customer's like, yeah, I'm trying to turn it on. It's not working. All right, step aside. Now, for me, first of all, do we have water pressure? Oh, yeah, it's in the sink. It's in the toilet, but just not here. So step one was making sure we have water. Step two would be what are we looking for? So by the time I'm done, I already know from experience that most of the time those handles, there's a piece underneath that gets offset. And now you think it's off, but it's not. It won't turn that far no more. So it needs to be adjusted. It's something so simple. It takes 10 minutes. By this time, I'm telling the customer, okay, this is the process. And they're straight up. They know what I'm talking about now. You could do this. I can do this right now. And I give them my price. There's nothing hidden. There's nothing that's like, the pipe needs to be moved. Nothing. This is straight. And then they say, all right, well, let's do it. And then I start my job. And then they come back 5 minutes. Hey, do you know why this door don't shut right? Most of the time, if I come in for something so small, I'm leaving with more work. And it might not be that day because maybe the customer is not ready or, they have something to do. They make an appointment and we send, someone else out, one of our other guys. Or I come back myself. But the point is to constantly, it's like bringing HGTV to you. And we always tell our customers, this ain't HGTV. It doesn't happen in 30 minutes. But in other words, you should know everything that we're doing. We're not hiding. A lot of times, some jobs get expensive, and we like to give options. That's another value that we do. Same thing. This all happens in the interview process, the estimate process, because I'm not going to hear later that, oh, you didn't tell me. No, I've never heard a customer tell me that. If they did, it's because they're full of crap. Because I've always, even in my paperwork, we've learned over this time that you have to do everything in writing, everything. It's like a contract, like a law contract. You have to be on point. And if we're wrong, then we eat it. I've been to plenty of customers' houses. I fix things for free because I'm standing there and it's like, oh, this is a loose hinge. So real quick, I don't charge.
Well, even we've had customers where, we'll let's say it's a tiling job. So we'll take the measurements, take the photos, we write it up with pictures and everything's in there, right? Our whole process, our expectations. Okay, we take a half up deposit, half on completion. Okay. We're doing the work, and we just had a customer actually do this to us recently. And she goes, oh, okay. And then can you paint my whole house and do the baseboards and just add it on? And our standard answer is no, let's finish out this ticket, write up a new estimate, because we want to make sure that the customer goes into it knowing the price and doesn't have sticker shock and go, oh my God, I didn't know this. Well, you added on the work. There wasn't that discussion. That's not their fault. That's ours. So we're very strict about, no, we're finishing up this ticket and then let's revisit that. We'll give them an estimate in the meantime. We'll get it, set and scheduled. Mm-hmm. But we're not going to just jump on work because, we're excited about a paycheck, We
don't need the money that bad.
And we're not going to set ourselves up for issues down the road.
So as you can see, Emily and Frank obviously have a great company, and they really built it on, transparency, customer experience. Obviously, customer quality work has a lot to do with it, but at the end of the day, it's how you make that customer feel. And they just had a great example of that. I thought it was fantastic, so I wanted to share that one. So next up, we're going to go into episode 15 with Maya Goldstein, who is a Google Ads specialist with Kyber Digital. And we're gonna get into why most Google ad campaigns fail. She's got two great reasons, and I want you to listen to them and check them out here. So last question here I'm gonna dive into, because I know we're reaching the 30-minute mark. So what's kind of the number one factor in your experience that causes Google campaigns to either underperform or just completely flop?
There are two things that consistently drive me bonkers when I work with people who haven't really experienced Google. And it's one of those things that, especially if I'm on a freelance basis, I will sit down in the beginning and say, for this to work, you have to promise me these two things. And they both have to do with consistency. One, don't be changing your ads and your stuff every 10 minutes. It's one thing to say, maybe this week I want to add a special to my ad. That's small. That's an easy change. But if every week you're saying, I'm not getting conversions, I'm going to turn this off and turn this on and change all my keywords and completely redo my ads every week, your ads are going to stick in learning mode forever. And they're never going to show you what you want. And you're going to yell at your marketing person. You're going to say, how dare they? You're not doing your job. And they're going to say, well, let's leave them alone for 2 weeks. Let them grow a little bit. Give them some TLC from afar and see what happens. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to see amazing results once you leave them alone. That's not to say you shouldn't monitor them. You shouldn't make sure they're spending what they're supposed to and give them tweaks to optimize. But Google Ads do best when you give them the best creative stuff you can give them, the best ad copy, the best keywords, everything the best you can do, and let them grow. Because they're like plants. They really don't want you to bug them too much in the beginning.
So really great golden nuggets there on why Google Ads campaign. Basically, once you set it and you've done the research, you got to leave it alone and let it do its work, and then learn from it, read the data, and improve upon your campaign from there. So something to think about. Of course, that's a wonderful episode just to learn more about Google Ads and understand how the different types of campaigns work, how they're going to work for your business, what type of budget you need to be successful on those campaigns. Next episode we're going to dive into is Jonathan Buchheiter from Loyal Home Services, his own company. And we're going to talk a little bit about how he trains employees and really how he gets them to connect with them and build a relationship with them. And that's his number one priority when he trains. So let's check this out. So let's get into hiring employees and getting started with the sales training side of things. So when you do hire a new employee, what do you focus on first when you're getting them trained up?
A lot of it's their comfort with being with customers and talking to customers. I mean, your number one thing, a customer is not going to buy from you if they don't trust you. So if I can instill to these guys, hey, keep it honest, keep it loyal, build your rapport with that customer, and you'll always have a customer. They're not buying from the company, they're buying from you. And if I can also set them aside and kind of teach them the way that I grew up in the industry and kind of mold them to another me, that's even better.
So next, after that, episode 17, we had Jay Miller, who's the CEO of Kyber Digital, hop on, talk about momentum marketing. And he's a marketing strategist. That's his main focus is really building campaigns that are built around momentum marketing, and how do you capitalize on guerrilla marketing and, lifestyle marketing and get that going, get that organic going into, getting into paid advertisements. So on here, in this episode, this clip I want to share, it's going through the mistakes that companies make by just focusing on leads alone. So let's get into let's talk about leads for just a moment, and why do you think it's a big mistake, and why do people make this mistake of just focusing on leads, like even when they're starting their business out, although we know you got to have them?
We get a lot of clients that say, we need more leads, we need more leads, we need more leads. And for us, we understand that leads directly lead to revenue, but that's not what the business owner really wants. What does the business owner actually want? They want to have this business run on autopilot and have it be self-sustaining. They want it to, they want their business to pay for itself, to generate its own leads, to generate business for them. They want to own the business and not be in the weeds of it. And the guys that do want to be in the weeds are the outliers. Most business owners don't want to be in the weeds. They want to just own the business, have it run, and they're now an entrepreneur. So the leads lead to that. But the problem is, that's one thing that makes your business successful. And it comes down to, like, do you have the right ops in place? Do you have the right follow-up sequences in place? Do you have review generation in place? Do you have content proving that you can do what you do? Are you doing offers that resonate with your audience? Are you doing specials that resonate with your audience? It just comes down to so many different things you could be doing to drive traffic to your business, but they focus on one thing, which is, I need leads, and I need them now, and I need to pay for 30 phone calls. And if you can't get me 30 phone calls, then I don't want to work with you. They're so short-sighted, and it's such a mistake, because the companies that focus on the long term are the ones that make millions, and they're the ones that are recession-proof. They're the ones that get through their recessions because their customers don't leave and their employees don't leave, and they're able to financially ride the wave of the mayhem of an economic downturn. And that's been proven. Like, we don't have to go into why, but the whole idea is, if you're focused only on the short term, I just want a lot of phone calls, I'm going to half-ass my CRM systems, you're going to fall apart and you're going to fail as a business. You're just not going to make it long-term. You have to have the long-term goals in place. And if your marketing is not long-term focused, you're going to fail. I look at it, I think it was Kobe Bryant, the basketball player, that said in one of his most recent TikToks, he's like, if you train from 10 to 12, you take a break, you train again from 4 to 6, and you go to bed, well, you got 4 hours of training in every day. But imagine if you get up and you train from 4 to 6, and then from 10 to 12, and then from 4 to 6 again, and then from 6 to 9 or 7 to 9. It's like, no matter how much someone might spend in the short run in a really fast sprint of training. I did 3 months straight of training. Great. He said, nobody will ever catch up to me because I've got so much more time invested in what I do that made me the pro. Marketing is no different. You need to build upon what you've done, and you got to put the time and the data and the money into it. But really, it's the time. Marketing takes time. Gary Vee is the last big component of that, where it's like he said, I was never in this for the short game. I always had the long game in my focus. And look at the results that have been created from him thinking that way. thinking long term. The short term is, yeah, I need to have lead generation, sure. But if you don't prepare the rest of your business for what needs to happen long term in order to achieve your ultimate outcome, which is to have this thing be self-sustaining and running on autopilot, you're never going to get off that hamster wheel. And the moment that your lead generation source turns off, your business is screwed.
Once again, really great stuff coming from Jay. Enjoy having him on the podcast and digging into marketing strategies, things that people don't think about, especially when it comes to guerrilla marketing or lifestyle marketing. And in this case, really, we talk about how to leverage momentum marketing in your own business. But the big thing is, one, obviously, just focusing on leads and not focusing on your full business as a whole and how do you market each part of that is a big mistake that contractors are making. So just to not fall in that trap of just focus on leads and not anything else in any other aspect of your business, because eventually most business owners, they want it to operate on its own, generate its own leads, just like Jay talked about in that episode. So check it out if you haven't already. It's fantastic. Next up, we've got episode 18. We had Brittany Churchill, who is the COO, the Chief Operating Officer at Kyber Digital as well. We went through and talked about really the importance of the client journey or the buyer's journey to the client's journey, however you call it, right? And we really talk about this one particular piece here that a lot of people don't think about, and that's the first human interaction you have with your business. What is that like when the first time somebody calls and contacts your business or you reach out to them? What's that first human interaction about? So she goes over in this little clip here on how important that is to really optimize and make that special and make that great feeling connection when you first add the human connection and the human element, right? With when you contact somebody for your business.
The first thing they do is either a salesperson or a customer success manager, whomever you've got being the first human being that they talk to, that is the most important person. So if you spend money on hiring, it's that. And that might sound crazy because for your business, it could be like a secretary, right? But make sure that the person picking up the phone, or if it's even a digital answering machine, right? Something that's pre-recorded, has to be someone who sounds warm, welcoming, trusting, confident. All of those things need to be there. Jordan, do you remember when we were talking about someone picking up the phone and being like, hello? And that's the first thing they hear. And so now they think, did I call the wrong person? They're in a state of, did I dial the wrong number? They get nervous. They start to check their phone. Like, you got to make sure that it feels good when they answer the phone. And it's so funny how many businesses have you called that's happened to you? I know we were talking about this recently in like a group chat, right? It happens all the time. I forget where I recently called. It was like a big store. It might have been like it wasn't a Home Depot, but in that kind of realm, like maybe an Ace Hardware or like a local hardware store. And they said was hello. And I for sure hung up the phone and checked the number I dialed. And thank goodness I called back, but they could have really lost the customer. And I think what's really important about that is you make that first human interaction feel, unfortunately, it's that warm and fuzzy that you got to go for, right? Even if you're not a warm and fuzzy person, whoever's answering your phone's got to be.
Some really great points in there from Brittany, really getting into and talking about, just the human element, the first actual touch point from human to person when you contact them on the phone, how important that is, regardless of who's answering the phone. You've got to make sure that part is that person is warm feeling, inviting, everything you need, so somebody feels welcome and wants to actually do business with you. So next up, episode 19, second to last of season 2, we had TJ McCormick, who is the world's greatest roofer on TikTok. And I wanted to bring him on because it was TikTok's a big thing now, video reels and Instagram and things like that. And so I wanted to get his take on it because he's got over 200,000 followers. So somebody you really want to pay attention to who's really used the platform to not only he's grown his personal brand, but grown his businesses on there as well. So in this clip here, we got TJ talking about really how he comes up with really great content ideas for his channel. How do you come up with your content? Because it's not just you're teaching about roofing or you're teaching about shingles or consumer or business, but you incorporate personal stuff in there. So how do you go about creating that content?
So yeah, let me go back just a little bit. Let me touch on your point, what you were talking about having to do lots of paid and sponsored ads. We're seeing that too with Facebook and Instagram, as well as businesses. I do a lot of work with the Tim Brown and the Hook Agency and several other different marketing agencies. And we've started teaching people, here's a gold nugget, right? We've started people to post to their own page now, and then share it to their business page, instead of posting on the business page and then sharing from the business page, because the algorithm is stopping it if they feel like it's branded content, if they feel as if you're trying to sell something or what I call a call for action, right? If you're putting a call for action piece of content out, then you're going to get suppressed. And with TikTok, I find that I can be myself. I can say what I want, unless it's, gets too branded, or if it's got too many things in the background that look like it's a branded video. But nowadays, people should post from their personal page. And why wouldn't you want to post from your personal page? Because now you're reaching potential clients, unless you're really don't like your business, or you really are embarrassed of what your business is, right?
So as you can see, creating content doesn't have to be too terribly difficult. A lot of it is just really simply getting out of your own way, kind of documenting your life, documenting what goes on in your business, and getting it out there for customers to see what kind of experience you provide for them. So wonderful episode. Check it out if you haven't already, especially if you want to learn a little bit more about TikTok, how you can build a personal brand on there, so on and so forth, and of course, building your business. And of course, the last episode of season 2 was with Claire Fike of Company Cam. And we really dug into, we dug into Company Cam itself. And the reason why I wanted to bring her on and talk about Company Cam, because we're not here to promote a software or anything like that, but what that software does to help you, it solves a lot of problems, right? It solves covering your butt, right, on your work. If you're documenting from beginning to end with pictures and photos and videos, you have that organized and put in one place. That way, if somebody comes back at you, so on and so forth, right, you're covered. Second part to it was, if you're dealing with, restoration or insurance claims, obviously you're going to need to be able to, you got to be able to document your work and show that it needs to be insured, and they've got to cover the payments. So that, once again, if that's done the right way, which it can be organized very well in Company Cam, it's in there. Third part is, Company Cam integrates with websites, so you can showcase your work, right, for people to see, and hook it up into, show people different neighborhoods and areas in which you've done your work. And I think that's very important, to show people what you're doing, so on and so forth. So anyways, besides that point, it's not a plug here for Company Cam. It's just talk about the idea of the things that you can do with that software that's going to help your business. But we get into really the biggest mistakes that contractors make when they're documenting their work, especially for insurance claims here, or really in general. Claire dives into this a little bit more in this clip. So let's get into some documenting of work, of what Company Cam actually does and helps. So
Sure.
What are the biggest mistakes contractors are making when they're actually documenting their work for, let's say, for insurance? It could be for insurance claims, but just in general, really.
Yeah, sure. So it's a great question. Like I said, Company Cam we got our start within roofing, and then restoration was it was a very natural progression to move into resto, just strictly because you need photos to get paid, right? So it's all about insurance, specifically with those trades. So yes, we built a lot of the features within Company Cam based off of some of the main mistakes that contractors were making. So I kind of boil it down to 3 main pieces. The first is going to be that they're not taking enough photos. Providing enough photos, right, will help you avoid time-consuming conversations, having to go back and forth with adjusters, having to have arguments. Ultimately, it's going to help you get paid faster and get the materials that you need. So taking enough photos, I know that sounds kind of like a no-brainer, but truly we still run into that all the time. So taking enough photos. But what that flows into is, sure, you could be snapping photos, but if the photos don't show the full picture, if it's not fully allowing, these companies to grasp what you need and why you're asking for what you need, then it's just going to, again, create convoluted conversations and slow down the process. So that's another big reason why so many people within restoration, roofing were really drawn to Company Cam was because they could easily snap their photos. And then within Company Cam, sometimes we call it Snapchat for contractors. Within Company Cam, there is a toolbar where you can draw all over your photos, and you can annotate, you can add stickers, you can add arrows, you can add descriptions. We've really up-leveled that tool because so many people love it, because they can easily, with an arrow, point out, this is exactly what needs to be fixed, this is what's broken, this is what I'm asking for. They can make a note, and then they can just attach that to their claim, and the adjuster can see it right there. So it just paints a full picture and provides a lot more context. And I think and then the last piece I would say is attaching too many photos. So again, you can be snapping as many photos as you want, but if it's not truly getting across your point and the line items that you need to fill and what you need, then it's really, again, going to create just a longer process. So the adjusters are looking at different claims every single day, and for you to be able to be very straightforward with them and share exactly what you need, it just makes that process so much faster. So I would say that those are the three main things that we run into. And ultimately, if you can be clear and concise, you're going to get what you need a lot faster. So that's kind of my tips.
So once again, documenting your work, super important, making sure you're doing it the right way and organizing it to really help cover your business, provide a great customer experience, and of course, bring in more reviews, bring in more customers for your business. So that wraps up a phenomenal season 2 we had here on the Preferred Contractors Podcast. I'm super excited about season 3 coming up. We are booking guests right now to go ahead and record out episodes for season 3. So if you're interested, you're an industry leader, expert in something that's in the contracting space or helps contractors in general, and would love to be on the episode, please feel free to. You can reach out to me on any of the channels on social media, or hop into our Preferred Contractors community group. You can find me on Facebook there, or email me at jordan@preferredcontractorspodcast.com, and I can answer it there. And yeah, we'll get you booked in as a guest and see how we can give actionable steps to help contractors grow. So thank you guys again so much for listening to Preferred Contractors Podcast. As always, hop into our Preferred Contractors community group that's in Facebook. That's where we host all of our trainings on marketing and business development, branding, you name it, anything that's going to help you grow in your contracting business. So hop in there, check it out, look at the guides, take what you need. It's all free, right? We're here to help you grow. So thank you guys again for listening. Until next time.